The show was sold to New York, and it was such a hit that we just had letters coming in by thousands from people all across the country who were so pleased and so happy to find out that there were other people out there who felt and dreamed and believed the same that they did. Now we had to go on and change the name of the show, make it a different show, because it was sold. Now the show is called Quest for the Human Potential. It is still the same principle, still the same idea, still the same belief system, still the search for new ideas, still the imagination that goes into thinking and believing and stretching of your mind. We want to continue on, and we hope that you will continue on with us. Please stay tuned as we go forth with these shows. Thank you.
You will not find much disagreement with the statement that a crisis condition currently exists on our planet, but our guest believes mankind can survive by understanding and responding to the threats we face today.
We invite you to stay tuned for an extraordinary hour, for our guest is Buckminster Fuller.
Buckminster Fuller has gained recognition as an inventor, designer, philosopher, and poet, and is perhaps the best-known American thinker alive today. He is the creator of the geodesic dome and coined the term Spaceship Earth.
Sometimes he's called the planet's friendliest genius. Mr. Fuller has been awarded 48 honorary doctoral degrees from universities throughout the United States and England, and he said that coincidentally he'd been around the world 48 times. He has written more than 22 books, and he has 115 major articles to his credit. His latest book is entitled Critical Path, and it has been described as a summary of human evolution. Welcome, sir, to the program. What prompted you to begin work on the critical path?
Well, the crisis itself, plus the long pursued attempt to see how to solve problems with, not with politics, but with and guns, but with artifacts, ways in which we could alter the environment, physical environment, to make it more favorable for humanity, by virtue of which humanity could behave more favorably towards one another. So that critical path, I've got a very powerful feeling 3 years ago that I just had time to get this thing out, for it might not be publishable anymore, when they might be burning books again.
You think it's that critical?
Very much so. I think we're absolutely at the brink at all times. The question really, in minutes, I have a map of the world I'd like to show you rather quickly. And this is the only map of the world in which you can see the whole world at once without any visible distortion of the relative shape or size of any of the parts. It also, you can show it as one world island and one world ocean. So here it is, and it's a north and south world and not an east-west world of the old Mercator maps. So on this map, I show 100 little white dots where each is 1% of humanity, where humanity really is. For instance, it's 60% here in China and India, 34% in Africa and Europe, and only 12% over here in the Americas. So that the most important thing about this is that there are now 50,000 atomic bombs poised, ready for delivery. If they went off, if any one of them goes off, there's a computerized retaliation, and they'll all go off. And quite clearly, all humanity is all through just like that. So here we are, trembling on that brink with all kinds of different authorities who might be able to push such buttons. Question, how do we avoid doing it? What could humans do themselves? You and I personally, we don't have an authority, do we? You don't know anybody has an authority. The President of the United States has authority here, but you don't know just what kind of council is going to move that man. Mm-hmm. You don't know how many other heads of states might push buttons. Anyway, what we can do about it is, as far as I can see, number one, is we are I say, how and why were humans included in the universe? That's the next thing. And we are very extraordinary because in contradistinction to all known other living creatures, many creatures have brains, and brains are always coordinating the information of the senses. But we also are given minds, and human minds have the capability from time to time to discover relationships existing in the universe that are not in any way detectable by observing any one of the special cases. For instance, here we have this picture of the heavens. Kepler, extraordinary mathematician, astronomer, back in made this extraordinary exploration after Copernicus made clear that the Earth is going around the sun and not the sun going around us. Kepler found that all the planets are different sizes, all different distances from the sun, all going around the sun at different rates, so seem to be very disorderly. But he said, as a mathematician, I know one thing, they're all going around the sun, so have one thing in common. If you can find something else in common, that's in trigonometry, you have two knowns, you may get somewhere. So he said, as a mathematician, I can give something else in common. I can give each one of those planets exactly the same increment of calendar time, right to the second. He knew that each one was the star. He made a line, a diagram, the radius each one was from the sun. Then he had the end of the 21 days when the new radius was. He had the arc. So I now had the diagram, a triangular diagram, long, thin one. He said, I might as well calculate these areas. He did so, and if you were Kepler making that, found they were not similar areas, they were elegantly exactly the same mathematical areas. He said, obviously they're coordinated. You can't come out of the same number unless you're coordinated. He said, how can they are millions of miles apart? If they're touching each other like gears, I could understand how they could coordinate. How can they coordinate at millions and millions of miles apart? Enormous things such as they are. So I said, obviously, there's some kind of a tension operating. I have a weight on the string and move it around my head as an orbit, and they are going in orbits around the sun. They're also demonstrating elliptical orbits, and apparently there are times when these planets at different rates bunch more than other times, and they apparently the bunch pull on any one. So they bring about, want to make ellipses, you have two restraints instead of a single restraint for circle drawing. So Kepler said there is then this absolutely invisible tension capability operating, which comes out later on. Galileo makes experiments with falling bodies, rate of acceleration. Found they were accelerating at the second power of the arithmetical distances being traveled. And then Isaac Newton comes out with a theory that the interattraction of these celestial bodies was varying inversely as the second power of the arithmetical distances intervening, which is to say, if you have the distance between the two, you increase the interattractiveness fourfold. This is proved to be then correct for what I'm getting at. A human mind has the capability to discover relationships existing between, which can only be mathematically expressed, that are absolutely undetectable by our brains. So human minds, we are here for some very special reason. We've been given access to some of the great principles of design of the universe itself. These principles, to qualify as a generalized principle in science, must have no exceptions. And that means no exception means eternal. Our brain deals with the temporal, our minds deal with the eternal. That we have that capability means we must be designed to be here for something very important. But we were also designedly born always naked, absolutely inexperienced, therefore no knowledge, absolutely ignorant, but given thirst and hunger and curiosity, procreative urge to drive us to make experiments, to take initiatives, to learn only by trial and error. We've been here all this time learning by trial and error, and I find we've now come to a most extraordinary kind of an era where power structures have come into being. People who are stronger physically are able to overwhelm others, and they said, you must make no mistakes. We got our rules, and if you make mistakes, we're going to punish you, which takes away from humanity the right to learn by trial and error. Anyway, they also then got to the point where they say, we are